Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Albion Online Dev Talk. In our last Dev Talk, we introduced the Radiant Wilds update and took a deep dive into the visual overhaul of Albion's open world. Today, we're shifting the focus to the other major features coming with Radiant Wilds. While working on this update, we knew that most art capacities were tied up in the visual overhaul. At the same time, large parts of the team were focused on preparing the upcoming Xbox launch and broader performance improvements. Knowing that our capacities were limited, we were quite deliberate about which additional features we included in Radiant Wilds. We focused on a set of changes tackling several long-standing requests from our core community, while also addressing some of the biggest issues for new players arriving in Albion. But before we dive into the new gameplay features, let's take a closer look at the work we've done to improve the game's technical performance. I've invited our technical director, John Davis, to walk you through the improvements coming with Radiant Wilds.
First of all, I want to thank you for the reports you've sent us regarding performance issues. Your feedback regarding things like higher ping, disconnects, and frame drops during ZVZ battles have guided our efforts for this update and beyond. We know that performance is critical in a competitive, action-oriented game like Albion Online, and we have allocated an even bigger portion of our tech team to investigate and improve performance on all fronts. Unfortunately, fixing performance is not as simple as flipping a switch. It takes extensive profiling, deep analysis, and hard work to identify the specific systems that create bottlenecks under heavy load. With Radiant Wilds, a major set of improvements from that effort arrives. We're rolling out a comprehensive set of performance optimizations to give you a smoother gameplay experience. One of the main goals of this work is to reduce stutters and severe frame drops. To achieve this, we changed how some complex work is processed. We reworked more tasks to run concurrently, which frees up the core system to run smoothly. We changed how some environmental objects, structures, and visual effects load, moving this work to the background. This reduces the sudden freezes that can interrupt your gameplay. Our team also reviewed and optimized over 600 individual visual effects so that they render more efficiently. Additionally, we're improving how certain spell effects are processed. Their performance costs can now be spread across multiple frames to prevent sudden drops in frame rate. In our internal testing, these improvements show a significant improvement in performance during asset loading and heavy combat situations like ZVZ fights. Alongside client performance, we are coordinating closely with our hosting partners to optimize connection stability for players across the Americas, Europe, and Asia. While network routing is never entirely in our hands, we're working with our partners in keeping our efforts heavily focused on this area. This is an ongoing process, and while we can't fix the internet for everyone, we will never stop optimizing. We're also adding new user interface indicators to give you better visibility into your network connection status. This will allow you to more easily monitor connection health and help us focus our continuing optimization efforts. I want you to know that these improvements are only the first step. Our teams will continue working on optimizations beyond Radiant Wilds. Some post-update projects I'm excited to announce are a Unity 6 upgrade, which gives us more tools to optimize the game, and improvements to the in-world UI system, which has shown the potential to significantly increase client performance in ZVZs.
It's great to see these improvements coming together, and we're confident this will be a step towards solving one of the main community concerns right now. With that covered, let's move on to some of the new gameplay features coming with Radiant Wilds. And we'll start with one of the biggest new systems arriving in this update, the Armory. One of the challenges many players face in Albion is finding an effective and enjoyable set of equipment. While experimenting with builds can be a part of the fun, it can also become a hurdle that keeps players from actually playing the game and enjoying the content. Many players end up searching for builds online, where the information is often outdated or based on limited data. That's where the idea for the Armory came from. This extension to the loadout system helps players discover effective equipment builds based on how people actually play the game, analyzing real gameplay data to identify combinations that perform well in specific activities. When you open the Armory, you first choose the activity you are interested in. for example open world solo play, group content, or different PvP modes. The system then shows equipment builds that have consistently performed well in that type of content. Each result displays the full loadout including weapon, armor, spells, consumables, and several performance metrics. This allows you to quickly understand not just which equipment players are using, but how effective those builds are in practice. Because the system continuously analyzes gameplay data, it also adapts automatically over time and reacts to balance changes or shifts in the meta. Our goal with the Armory is to make it much easier for players to discover builds, experiment with different setups, and learn what works best for the activities they enjoy. Once you've found a build you like in the Armory, the next step is putting it to the test. And one place to do that is the Arena. With Radiant Wilds, we're introducing two big changes here: a new Crystal Arena map and a brand new 1v1 Arena game mode. First, let's talk about the Crystal Arena. After playing the same map for a long time, we felt it was time for a refresh. This update brings a completely new map with different choke points and additional flanking paths. We're also allowing groups of 4 players to queue for the Crystal Arena, which should help bring more players into the matchmaking pool and improve queue times and match quality. The second addition is the 1v1 Arena. This mode gives players quick access to structured one-on-one combat where builds and mechanics are the deciding factors. The mode is fully ranked with its own separate rating and leaderboard. This means players can progress through 1v1 ranks independently of the existing 5v5 arena ranks and earn rank up rewards from both game modes. Matches are played in a best of 3 format, and if a fight takes too long, an overtime mechanic will gradually shrink the arena to force a conclusion. At launch, the 1v1 arena will be introduced as a limited time game mode, running for the length of a guild season. This allows us to gather feedback and see how it fits into Albion's PvP ecosystem before deciding how we want to run it in the future. Another area we are addressing in Radiant Wilds is battle mount gameplay in large-scale fights. Battle mounts are meant to be powerful, exciting tools that can turn the tide of a battle. But over time, the meta around them has shifted to the point where bringing as many battle mounts as possible often felt required, which many players told us wasn't particularly fun to play with or against. With this update, we're introducing a new battle mount disarray system. Each battle mount now contributes a certain amount of shared limit for your alliance in a cluster. If that limit is exceeded, any additional battle mounts will add to your alliance's disarray penalties. The goal here is not to remove battle mounts from fights, but to encourage more deliberate use of them and bring more variety back into large-scale fights. At the same time, the system gives us a much more flexible way to balance battle mounts in the future, allowing us to respond to player feedback and adjust the numbers more quickly when needed. Another change we're introducing with Radiant Wilds is party leave protection. In the past, grouping with strangers in the open world could sometimes be risky because players could leave the party and immediately attack their former teammates. With this update, when a player leaves or is removed from a party, guild, or any other form of allied state, there will now be a short protection period during which neither side can attack the other. Our goal here is simple. We want it to feel safer to team up with other players even if you don't know them yet. Alongside these larger features we talked about today, Radiant Wilds also includes a few smaller improvements worth mentioning. First, we've given the Destiny board a small overhaul to make it feel less overwhelming for newer players and easier to read at a glance. Second, the loot interface has been improved. The window is now slightly larger so you can see more items immediately, and we've added a new loot all option in situations where all the loot is guaranteed for you. We're looking forward to seeing how you explore these new features and hearing your feedback once the update goes live on April 13th. Until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in Albion.